Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Zoning and Planning Committee for Thursday, March 1st to order. My name is Jeremy Schrader, and I'm the chair of this committee. With me at the dais today are Council Members Ellison, Council Member President Bender, Council Member Wright, Council Member Gordon, and Council Member Goodman. Let the record reflect that we've got a quorum. We've got 3 items on the agenda today, 2 public hearings and 1 rezoning. Before we go into our public hearings, we're going to take on the consent agenda. The only item today is an application submitted by Urban Works Architecture to rezone the properties located at 901, 901 and a half, and 913 12th Avenue Southeast, and the 1200 and 1206 Brook Avenue Southeast by adding the Industrial Living Overlay District to redevelop the former Bungie Grain Elevator site with 145 dwelling units of multifamily housing. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on item 3? Seeing that, I will move item 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. We'll now move to item 1, which is a public hearing regarding the appointment of Taylor Cooper, and the reappointments of Jacob Softly and Matt Perry to the Zoning Board of Adjustments for a 3-year term ending in December 31st, 2020. I'll open the public hearing. Are any of the appointees here? We'd love to hear from you if you have a second. And can you state name for the record?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. My name is Jacob Softly, 3019 Bryant Avenue South. Members of the committee, I'm standing before you for reappointment to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. This will be my second reappointment, I guess. I came in on a short term when I initially took a position on the board, and I've very much enjoyed my time to serve the city and hear the applications for zoning variances. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from council members? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Schroeder.
Would anyone else like to speak? Anyone from the public? Seeing no one, I'm going to now close the hearing. With that, I'll move number 1. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to briefly thank so much our volunteers on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. They spend a lot of hours reviewing projects that are really small scale, but those details really matter to neighbors in Minneapolis. And in the number of years that I've been on this committee, we've seen, I think, fewer and fewer appeals to our committee from the zoning board. I think that's partly because of policy change that we've worked on together, but also because I think the board is doing a really good job of making sure people feel heard and addressing our constituents' concerns when they come before them. So thanks again.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? With that, I'd like to move the appointments of Taylor Cooper, Jacob Softly, and Matt Perry to the Zoning Board of Adjustments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item 2 is a quasi-judicial hearing on the appeal submitted by Shane Lefebvre on behalf of Sherman Associates regarding the Longfellow Station commercial project. Let's begin with the staff presentation.
Good morning, Chair and council members. Sherman Associates has submitted an appeal for a project at 3801 Hiawatha, southeast corner of that intersection of 38th and Hiawatha. The applicant proposed a 2-story, 10,000 square foot commercial building with a just an aerial 2-story, 10,000 square foot commercial building with a plaza on the south side of the project and a 30-space surface parking lot to the east on the eastern portion of the project site. The applications that were required were a conditional use permit to allow for a planned unit development amendment, a site plan review, and 2 variances. And that most contentious variance, since this project's in the pedestrian-oriented overlay district, was a request to reduce the minimum FAR from 1.0 to 0.3. CPED approved the recommended approval of all the applications, and in large part, in regards to that minimum FAR request, we saw the applicant's statements of the site constraints as the reasons why we supported the project, with power lines being along Hiawatha, above grade stormwater, above and below grade stormwater system that's currently in place and easements that were on the project site. However, the Planning Commission did deny the applications, and among the findings were that the site allows greater intensity of use and reducing the FAR is not in character with the area. The applicant, as I mentioned, did submit the appeal. I just wanted to, before turning it over to the applicant, just provide brief background. It was, as in the staff report, there was a project 8 years ago that the Planning Commission did approve that had the current Longfellow Station, that's part of the plan unit development, 180 units, that was built, and then a one-story commercial building at that southeast corner. But those approvals lapsed. They didn't build that commercial building, and now that corner has sat vacant for that time. So per the plan unit development ordinance, the applicant did need to reapply for this amendment, and this project, this building in and of itself needs to stand alone in meeting the zoning code requirements, including that minimum FAR requirement. I want to thank the applicant we do feel that they did make an effort to improve upon that original proposal of a one-story building with the current proposal. But as noted by the Planning Commission, the 8 years in this area, times have changed. There are greater developments, and they didn't see that this was enough for this site, this important and highly visible site. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions? With that, no, thank you. With that, before I open the public hearing, I'll give the applicant an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shane Lefebvre with Sherman Associates. Would like to also thank Aaron for the work that we've done. We worked closely with him to amend our original proposal of the one-story building to try to accommodate what we were hearing from staff in the neighborhood, that they wanted more density. Working with Aaron, we increased it to a two-story building above what was originally one story. As Aaron mentioned, this was originally part of a PUD that was combined with the apartment building just to the south. When you combine this building with the apartment building, the FAR actually meets code. It's more like 1.43, 1.45, somewhere in that range. But given that the PUD expired, this building now has to stand alone, which means that it doesn't hit the required FAR. The reason that it didn't get built along with the apartment building is from a market standpoint, there just wasn't the demand. We didn't have a user that was presenting themselves to go in that one-story building. We didn't want to build a spec building that was going to sit vacant for the period of time. And so we've waited. It's actually, the site's been for sale. We've seen no interest, no potential buyers for the site, no potential developers. The site comes with some severe limitations. It's got the overhead power lines, which means that HUD, Fannie, and Freddie will not provide financing on the site. You've got the roadway in the back of the site, which needs to be kept so that it provides access to the apartment building. You've got the stormwater in a very small wetland area. There's constraints on the site that make it only possible to build a very small footprint. We've worked with, as I mentioned, we worked with Aaron to, going back, increase this to a two-story building, which we thought would be more palatable and address the desire to see more density on the site. We've tried to keep it very pedestrian friendly, but still provide some parking for commercial user. We have some interest from a local commercial user, which is why we wanted to move forward at this time with the building. We believe that it's doable as a two-story, but we just don't think that, given site restraints, a taller building with higher density is going to be supported by the market, by the rent levels, and by the fact that then you would need to go underground to create more parking. And so we believe that Aaron took the time to really understand the site constraints and wrote that in his report. It is our belief that maybe the Planning Commission didn't have quite the level of understanding that the staff did in rejecting the staff's recommendation. So hence we're here today with the appeal. We believe that if left as is, there's just not market demand, given site constraints, given the fact that you've got HUD and Fannie and Freddie who can't finance it. our concern is that this would sit vacant for another however many years if we can't move forward with this building.
Thank you, Mr. LaFave. Are there any questions? Councilmember Gordon?
I'm just curious if there's any vacancies, or what is the vacancy rate in the other apartment building right there? Is it full?
It's full. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It's 90-something% occupied.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
With that, I'll open the hearing to the public. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes per person, and I'll be tracking the timer with the clerk. And once at the podium, please state your name and address for the record. And if not, if you haven't done it so already, please sign in with the clerk. Is anyone here from the public to speak? Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to, seeing no one, the hearing is now closed. I'd like to see if there's any discussion. Then I'd like to move this item. All those in favor say, I'd like to move all right, I'd like to see, are there any other motions? Well, then I would like to move to deny the appeal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and this motion carries. Seeing no other business present at this time, the zoning and planning is now adjourned.